Hello, welcome. We're going to call our meeting to order. The meeting of our January 21st school committee meeting. We're going to have a roll call.
Mr. Begoli. Present. Mrs. Cahill.
Present.
Ms. Campbell. Present. Mrs. Hughley.
Present.
Mr. Leon.
Present.
Mrs. Perdios.
Present.
Quincy High School Student Representative MJ Perdios. And North Quincy High School Student Representative Caroline Pham. Thank you both for participating tonight.
Thank you. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a memoriam. Superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, obviously, we want to recognize some important people in the city who have recently passed away. If you could please keep in your thoughts and prayers the Tobin and Sheets families, former Mayor Arthur Tobin and First Lady Shirley Tobin, and former Mayor James Sheets passed away late last week. All provided many years of service to the Quincy community, including chairing the Quincy School Committee during their mayoral terms. If you could keep these two families in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Next on the agenda, we have open forum. This is an opportunity for community input regarding the Quincy Public Schools. Community in this context is defined as a resident of the city of Quincy, a non-resident parent of a student who attends the Quincy Public Schools, or a non-resident employee of the Quincy Public Schools. After giving his or her name and address, each speaker may make a presentation of no more than 3 minutes to the school committee. An individual may not exchange their time or yield to others. Residents or non-community persons may submit written statements up to 300 words to the school committee at QSC Open Forum at quincypublicschools.com by 4 p.m. the day prior to the posted school committee regular meeting. Written statements will be posted on the school committee section of the Quincy Public School website by noon the day of the posted school committee regular meeting. Do I have anyone at this time for open forum? Please come forward.
Good evening, Vice Chair and fellow school committee members. My name is Kai Lee from 42 President's Ave. I want to start with congratulating Beechwood Knoll and especially Southwest Middle School for being recognized by the Mass Department of Elementary and Secondary Education for the strong progress in ELA and math. I want to thank the school administrators, the educators, and the families for pushing their students. I'm Principal Mitchell. Like many parents across the city, my wife and I attended our children's winter concert. Ours was last month at Southwest Middle School and thoroughly enjoyed every moment of it. Even though there were some technical difficulties and a couple of students shared some jokes to keep the audience engaged while the difficulties were being worked out, I was amazed with the number of students that participate in the band music program. It seems more and more each year and year over year. I want to highlight Dr. Wilson, someone special that's able to get all these students engaged and playing to the same tune. Afterwards, he made himself available to engage students and parents. Thanked him for helping secure a grant from the Ernie Bach Jr. Music Drives Us Foundation, and he confirmed that it helped support additional students in the music program. It was also great to see a lot of the parents, the pride and joy in their eyes, and the smiles on how well the students performed, their children performed. In chatting with some of them, they harp, and no pun intended, on practicing. I never see my kids practice, but when it's concert time, I don't know what to do, but it sounds great. And then we're treated to a phenomenal performance. We also agreed that there should be more performances. I know it's a lot of work, but I think it's worth it. Budgets might be tight, and I'm sure many others see the value in the music program that it brings our students and community. I urge the school committee and the administration to continue prioritizing this amazing program and provide our students and educators, such as Dr. Wilson, the support and resources they need to continue and expand. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anyone else for open forum? Open forum, seeing no one, moving on. Next on the agenda, we have the superintendent's report. Superintendent.
Thank you, and good evening again, everyone. The first item on the agenda is the 2025 Schools of Recognition celebration. At a ceremony held at the State House yesterday, Beechwood Knoll Elementary School and Southwest Middle School were honored as 2025 Schools of Recognition by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Dr. Perkins, Southwest Middle School Principal Courtney Mitchell, Beechwood Knoll Elementary School Principal Marisa Rodriguez, and myself attended the ceremony yesterday. The Schools of Recognition designation is part of DESE's annual accountability process and is awarded to a select number of schools statewide that demonstrate meaningful progress toward accountability targets. This year's recognition highlights improved student achievement, particularly in English language arts and mathematics. Being named a School of Recognition reflects the collective effort of each school community. The progress made at Beechwood Knoll Elementary School and Southwest Middle School is the result of students' dedication to learning, educators' commitment to high-quality instruction, staff support, and strong partnerships with families. Congratulations again to the Beechwood Knoll and Southwest communities on the well-deserved recognition and the great work you continue to do for all of our students and families. So thank you very much. Next is kindergarten registration for the 2026-2027 school year is underway with the online link for families to pre-register posted on the Quincy Public Schools website and social media. Pre-registered families will be contacted by school secretaries and central registration beginning on February 2nd to schedule registration appointments. Amazingly, over 320 families have already pre-registered their students as we begin the process of welcoming the QPS class of 2039. Which sounds very far away, but we'll be here before you know it. So thank you to all those families, and thank you, of course, to our administrative staff who are responsible for the registrations. Before the holidays, 4 students from Quincy High School Film and Television class won first place in the 2025 Nor'easter Video Festival for their short film, The Ghost Friend. The production team included Malaki Daniels, Cass Perdios, Gray Ramstead, and Frankie Sullivan. The annual Nor'easter Video Festival is an opportunity for community media stations throughout New England to submit productions in a variety of categories. The students worked with QATV staff and collaborated to script, act, video, and edit their prize-winning entry. Congratulations to the students and QATV. The video will be shared on the QPS website and social media later this week. So again, thank you to everyone involved and congratulations to our amazing students. Next week, all grade 8 students will learn about the basics of CPR in their health classes through the Matter of Heart initiative. Thanks to Health Services Coordinator Andrea Hewer, middle school health educators, and partner Brewster EMS for their support of this initiative. I do want to kind of give everyone a heads up that this is scheduled for Monday, and looks like we may have a storm coming in that could affect this event, and so we're working with Brewster EMS so that we can potentially just postpone that event to the following Monday, but we'll make sure that the entire community is made aware of that in case we do have a cancellation due to snow. Nope, not yet. We're watching it carefully, so we'll see when that will be. Let's see. The City of Quincy has been awarded an FY 2026 Green Communities Grant in the amount of $250,000 to fund several energy efficiency projects in QPS buildings, including a heat pump and facilities management system for the Lincoln Hancock Community School pool, LED lighting for Montclair Elementary School, and a building control system for Parker Elementary School. These projects will also receive utility incentives through Mass Save, National Grid, and will save the district just under $78,000 on electric costs annually, which is really amazing. I have to thank Paul Hines and, of course, Margaret LaForest from the city side for helping us with applying for this grant and winning this grant. It's just another large amount of money that the city is getting to benefit our school facilities. So thank you to everyone on the city side for helping us with that. In your packet, school committee members received a copy of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Attorney General's Open Meeting Law Guide. There's also a single-page form for you to fill out and return to Ms. Owens that certifies your receipt of this guide. This is completed each year. If you have any questions about information contained in the guide, please let me know. And lastly, upcoming Quincy Public Schools and City of Quincy events. Point Webster Middle School will be hosting their cultural fair on January 23rd at 12:45 p.m. This annual event is a wonderful way for students and families to share about the traditions of their homes, including celebrations and, of course, food. The combined high school winter recital will be held next Wednesday, January 28th at 6 p.m. at North Quincy High School. Central Middle School Drama is presenting Schoolhouse Rocks on January 29th and January 30th at 7 p.m. and January 31st at 3 p.m. The North Quincy High School STEM Fair will be held on Tuesday, February 3rd, and Quincy High School will host theirs on Thursday, February 5th, both starting at 5:30 p.m. Members of the community are invited to volunteer as a judge for either or both of the STEM Fair events, so please, if you're so willing, please do so. Links to sign up are found on the QPS website and social media, or you can call the superintendent's office if you wish. Quincy's Early College High School Pathway Symposium will be held on Thursday, February 5th at 9 a.m. at the Boston Marriott Quincy. Early College High School Pathway students, high school and Quincy College faculty, members of the superintendent's leadership team, and staff from the State Street Foundation and RTI International will participate in the morning's activities. Of course, school committee members have also been invited to attend, and if you have a moment and haven't done so yet, if you could please RSVP at the link that was emailed to you if you haven't already. Broad Meadows Middle School Drama is presenting Into the Woods on February 5th, February 6th, and February 7th at 7 p.m., and February 7th at 2 p.m. Mayor Koch will be giving the annual State of the City address on Monday, February 9th at 7 p.m. in the Lloyd Hill Auditorium at Quincy High School. And in concluding, I would like to remind everyone that next week is the Quincy Public Schools District Review, where consultants from AIR will be visiting each of our schools, observing in classrooms and interviewing representative staff, parents, students, administrators, and district and community leaders. Special thanks to Dr. Perkins, the superintendent's leadership team members, our principals, and all of the staff who have been part of the preparation for the district review. This has been a monumental undertaking requiring many hours of preparation and documentation. I'm looking forward to seeing how the strengths of our school system and our dedicated educators will be recognized through this review and subsequent report. So thank you to the SLT and to Dr. Perkins for all of the work they've done over the last several months. With that, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, do my colleagues have any questions? I see Mrs. Perdios does. Go right ahead.
Thank you. More of a comment than a question. I just wanted to, going back to the Film and Television Production Award, I just wanted to give a really big thank you to QATV. The partnership that the Quincy High School Film Program has with QATV is just fantastic. My kid was one of the kiddos involved in that film, and they just have such a great opportunity there to learn a lot of different software and just, with the professionals that are at QATV and learn from them. And I just want to thank them very much for that. And the film, if you get a chance, take a peek. It's really, it's good and it's creepy, which is really kind of neat. So take a look at it if you have a chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have old business. Seeing none, we will move on to new business. And the first item on there is Student Support Services Program Improvement Plan. Mrs. Kyranis. Ms. I have to read all the letters. Yeah, please go right ahead. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you this year's Student Support Program Improvement Plan. My name is Jill Kyranis, the new Director of Student Support replacing, following longtime Director Maura Papil. First, before I begin, I'd just like to extend my sincere thank you to Superintendent Mulvey, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Perkins, and all of the SLT for the incredible support they provided to me as I've stepped into this role. Their ongoing professional guidance and collaboration has made my transition into this role as smooth as possible, and I'm truly excited to take on this leadership position and guide the Student Support Department. Our department has worked diligently to bring new initiatives and tiered supports to the district alongside some incredible community partners. The Quincy Public Schools remained steadfast in its commitment to supporting the academic, social, emotional, and mental health wellness of our students. Our comprehensive vision centers around the implementation of tiered interventions designed to bolster students' academic progress while nurturing their social and emotional development. Our mission continues to be setting high academic and social standards for our students while providing them with the support necessary to reach these. We firmly believe that strong social emotional development lays the foundation for academic success. We are proud to continue to highlight our partnerships with esteemed organizations such as Quarry, Bay State Community Services, Walker Therapeutics, and more, which play a critical role in strengthening the network of resources available to our students and families. Before discussing our new goals for the 25-26 academic year, I'd like to offer a reflection on the progress that was made toward last year's goals. Beginning on page 6 is our high-risk data. One key area we monitor closely is high-risk mental health data, which reflects students requiring crisis evaluations. During the 24-25 school year, there were 184 crisis referrals compared to 171 the previous year, representing an increase of 13 referrals. These referrals were supported through our partnership with the Spire Health Alliance, including a one-year grant-funded crisis clinician that was embedded in both of our high schools. Next, on page 7, a significant highlight for our department was the first full year of our Behavioral Health Navigator role. This proved to be an invaluable resource to students and families across the district. Through referrals from our school counselors, our Behavioral Health Navigator, who is Carolina Sariad-Dim, supported over 160 families, making 377 referrals to outside agencies. Carolina's efforts far surpassed just navigating mental health supports for our students. While many of those referrals were for mental health resources, Carolina was able to assist families in obtaining support around medical services, health insurance, food resources, English classes for adults, childcare services, clothing needs, and more. Notably, 51% of those families requested assistance more than once, and 65% of those referrals were for non-English speaking families, highlighting our ability to meet the needs of historically underserved students. While the data is powerful, it's important to emphasize that not all of Carolina's work can be quantified. Her impact has reached far beyond the documented data connected to her services. She has built trusting relationships and connections with many families all across the district who now feel comfortable calling her and asking for help with a variety of things, creating that vital link that enhances the connection between schools and families. We feel so incredibly fortunate to have this Behavioral Health Navigator grant opportunity for the next 2 years to bolster the comprehensive support we can offer students. Next, page 8 discusses our trauma-informed practices in Sandy Hook Promise Initiative. Last year marked continued growth in this area. Student support staff, along with teachers, participated in professional development with the focus on deepening our understanding of trauma-informed practices and understanding how trauma impacts emotional regulation, behavior, and overall learning. This has helped our educators adopt more empathetic, flexible, and proactive approaches in supporting all students. Middle school and high school sites participated in professional development aimed at promoting the teachings of the Sandy Hook Promise program. This is a 2-year program training, and now that we have completed the year 1 portion, which was the start with hello, we will now roll out phase 2, which is the say something portion of the program, along with the continuation of the Save Promise clubs. The Sandy Hook Promise program has significantly raised awareness about the impact of social isolation and aims to create a culture where students are encouraged to reach out to their peers. It's also provided students with the knowledge and tools to recognize warning signs of potential harm and speak up to a trusted adult if they notice concerning behavior. The hope is that by placing emphasis on proactive interventions and reporting, that students will feel a sense of shared responsibility for the safety of their school community. On page 10, the student support staff continued to support the implementation of the SEL platform Open Parachute. A specific objective set for last year was to enhance mental health literacy by reducing the stigma surrounding mental health. Through guided discussions and activities, students became more comfortable talking about mental health challenges and expressing their emotions. To measure the effectiveness of these lessons, we engaged middle school students in pre- and post-survey, collecting both qualitative and quantitative data. This data indicated a positive shift in students' attitudes toward mental health literacy, specifically in destigmatizing mental health in students. That data is reflected in the PIP that you all have on page 11. Moving on to page 12, attendance remained a critical focus. The supervisors of attendance assisted students and families by collaborating with site staff and agencies to mitigate barriers to regular attendance and school success. Appendix H includes all the attendance-related data. To summarize that data, last year, supervisors of attendance held a total of 206 attendance conferences at school sites. This is a decrease of 68 attendance conferences from the previous year. They also filed 9 CRA petitions, 2 51A reports, and held 10 family assist conferences, which are the pre-court meetings. In regards to verifying residency of our students, our supervisors of attendance remained vigilant in monitoring residency, and students who did not meet the residency requirement were transitioned to the appropriate district. Last year, the supervisors of attendance completed 649 residency checks, which required 744 home visits. This led to 25 active students being discharged from Quincy Public Schools, as well as 28 students who were not approved to start in QPS after it was discovered they lived in other cities or towns. On page 13, our homeless liaison has worked extremely close with sites to ensure students who experience homelessness do not have a disruption in their education. Our homeless liaison met with these students and their families to ensure that they had access to education and receive all the necessary referrals and services. Last year, we had a total of 203 students identified as homeless or in foster care. This number remained virtually the same from the previous year, with an overall decrease of 6 students. That concludes the reflection from last year's goals, and our new goals for the 25-26 school year begin on page 15. I can summarize the first 4 goals on page 15 to 18, as those serve as kind of overarching priorities across all student support teams, and they build upon previous year's goals. So these 4 goals for all student support teams include continued analysis of high-risk data, consistent follow-up to crisis referrals, and the expansion of trauma-informed classroom practices into all of our schools. In regards to the analysis of high-risk data, student support teams will continue to analyze the data and reports. However, a new goal of ours will be to refine this process by transitioning to an online referral form designed to consistently and efficiently categorize high-risk referrals. This system will improve the accuracy and usability of data, enabling teams to analyze trends, behaviors, and individual student needs to then inform our targeted interventions for these students. Next, student support staff will continue to participate in trauma-informed classroom professional development and school-wide initiatives to instill a culture of safety and belonging. This will be supported in collaboration with Sandy Hook Promise, Select Schools, which is our newest partner, Walker Solutions, and the continuation of open parachute lessons. Teams will also continue to leverage support from our partnering agencies and our Quincy Public Schools Wellness Coalition. Rotating student support staff will join myself, Director Kim Conley, high school adjustment counselors, supervisors of attendance, as well as our partner agencies, and our monthly QPS Wellness Coalition. This collaboration allows for the communication and sharing of agency resources to match our students' needs. Lastly, Quincy High School will continue to collaborate with Big Brother, Big Sister, and this year expand their school-based program to both grade 9 and grade 10 students. Last year's matches will continue on as 10th graders in the program, while the new freshman class will be given the opportunity to be matched to a big. The goal is to match 90 new students by the end of the school year. On page 19 begins our goals for elementary, middle, and high school counselors. Goal number 1 is specifically an elementary counselor goal. From September of 2025 to June of 2028, all elementary school counselors and staff have a new and amazing opportunity to collaborate with our newest partner, the Alliance for Inclusion and Prevention Select Schools, to help foster a safe and supportive school climate that promotes both academic and social emotional well-being. This collaboration with Select Schools has a 2-pronged approach. One is the SEL kernels lessons that I know you've heard a little bit about, and I'll go into a little more detail, and the trauma-sensitive school support. The kernels are evidence-based SEL lessons that are adaptable, targeted, and highly engaging. They are aimed at a number of social and emotional topics, such as improving focus and attention in the classroom, self-regulation teachings, managing emotions and impulses, managing peer relationships, and creating positive relationships with adults. The goal is to really focus on the integration of SEL practices into the daily classroom teachings as opposed to a siloed approach, so that these skills are routinely addressed and taught in all elementary school classrooms. These lessons are very easy to integrate for the classroom teachers at any point throughout the day, and they are also adapted for tiered interventions by counselors and psychologists. As part of this new curriculum, pre- and post surveys will be conducted with students in grades 3 through 5 to help measure the learning and the effectiveness of the kernels lessons and the TSS support provided by the work groups. As part of this initiative, we are also given a site-based coach from AIP who will work with each of our elementary schools weekly to provide ongoing support and consultation around the kernels lessons. The second part of the partnership with select schools is the trauma-sensitive schoolwork. Student support teams with their principals will participate in TSS training to help evaluate their current practices and to assist in planning to create a sustainable trauma-sensitive school climate. On page 20 is our second goal, which pertains to middle and high school. During the 25-26 academic year, middle and high school student support staff will continue to engage in professional development focused on the implementing trauma-informed classroom interventions. A new component to this is specifically aimed at all 5 middle schools, as they will work with a coach from Walker Solutions to help refine these interventions and really individualize their supportive practices to the unique needs of all 5 middle school buildings. In collaboration with site administration, staff will also lead school-wide implementation of, as I spoke about before, the second phase of the Sandy Hook Promise initiatives, including the Say Something program and the continuation of the Save Promise clubs, as well as for the NAN project, which is our suicide prevention training. Following this professional development, sites will adopt a minimum of 1 new trauma-informed practice or an initiative to enhance their existing support systems. On page 21, we are thrilled to add 2 full-time substance use prevention counselors to our staff, funded by the Opioid Trust Grant. Our goal is to have student support staff collaborate with these 2 counselors to ensure that 90% of identified students in alternative ed programs, or for any student who's identified by student support for substance abuse concerns or use concerns, are referred to for appropriate clinical support. These counselors will also offer short-term individual and group counseling, as well as team with our high school health interventionists and our middle school health teachers to co-facilitate classroom lessons and school-wide initiatives around substance abuse prevention. In addition, our partnering agency in this grant, which is Bay State Community Services, they will be providing training to these counselors, as well as offering us supplemental curriculum for them to use to enhance our classroom lessons. Our last goal is for the supervisors of attendance, which begin on page 23, and for our homeless liaison, which is on page 25. The goals for the supervisors of attendance and the homeless liaison will remain the same. Residency and chronic absenteeism continue to be the focus of the supervisors of attendance. The homeless liaison will provide staff, families, and students resources and supports, as well as coordinating with services with community organizations so that our homeless students have equal access to resources with the least disruption to their education as possible. The Student Support Department is proud of the work we do every day to promote the social, emotional, and academic growth of our students. The unwavering support we receive from Mayor Koch, all of you, and with our partnering agencies has been vital in providing our students with the comprehensive resources they need to thrive academically and personally. I hope all this information gave you some insight into the work done by our Student Support Department and the vision that we have for continued comprehensive support for our students. I'd like to thank you for your time and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for that very thoughtful and thorough program improvement plan. Very nice.
Thank you.
I'll open it up for questions from my colleagues. Mrs. Cahill.
Hi, thank you. I don't really have too many questions. Mostly, I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing, because I'm looking here, you have maybe about 100 staff members that work on all of this. And even with that, we need the partnerships to really be able to service our kids. So the partnerships that you have are really impactful, and taking advantage of that is really, makes a lot of impact for our students. So I love that. I did have a question about the opiate trust grant. Is that just for a year or?
It's for 3
Multiple?
years.
Oh, good.
So this is year
Okay.
1, so we'll have it for 2 additional years after that.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
And the faculty or the counselors that you have for those positions, are they, what kind of training, like what is their background?
That's a really good question.
yeah.
So they're certified counselors. They didn't, when they came into it, specifically have a lot of like substance abuse training, which is one of the reasons why we partner with Bay State, who's one of the leading organizations in substance use prevention. So they've provided them with necessary training that they need to implement these curriculums that can be used individually with students. They can do small groups with students. They can also do preventative curriculum in classrooms. So Bay State is giving them ongoing training throughout the life of the grant.
Basically curriculum and what- and
Yeah,
and
Bay
some
State's been an
direction.
incredible partner for
Okay,
us
yeah,
with
and they're
this.
great. Okay, so that's great to hear, because I was wondering how we did that. And I think that's really all I had. That was my biggest question. And I just wanted to say that I know from, education has really evolved, right? So when, I'm not going to look at you, Paul, but when Paul and I were probably in school, it was about academics and really, focusing on mental health and social emotional learning is so important because, and we're trying to target that because we understand that, not only academic support, but lifelong success as well.
Exactly.
If we can, educate kids and guide them early. So, and actually one other quick thing, the home visits, when we go in and check on the students, how many staff members do we have doing that?
We have 3.
3.
You talking about the home visits with the supervisor of attendance?
Yeah,
Yes.
yep.
3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
And how are they doing? Do they find like they're having, sometimes I have some concerns about their safety or, kind of having interactions that maybe aren't really, that are a little bit scary. How's that been going this year?
Fine. None of them have noted any concerns. Like, they're not really doing, when those home visits, we should say, they're not happening like at night. They're typically happening during the day. A nice added feature, going back to your point about the opioid trust grant, is those counselors are able to do outreach. So they've accompanied some of the supervisors of attendance to do outreach to kind of offer like another layer of support. Like the supervisor attendants are going out and saying, we really need to get you to school. What can we do to support? And we have a counselor there to support the needs right there in the home. And sometimes you find out that a family really does need more, and the counselor is there. They can make the appropriate referral. So they've been teaming on that as well.
Yeah.
They also take the resource officer with them when so we,
think
obviously,
it's
we
something-
have an amazing partnership with the police.
Yeah.
I'm sure the superintendent was about to say that too, but, but they take the resource officers. So if there's ever any concern, they take the resource officers, or they take, the director of security as well sometimes. So we make sure they don't go alone.
They have support with
They
them.
do, absolutely, yep.
Yeah, and I love the behavioral health navigator because that's huge in respect
do
of
we.
so many. And that's why you probably get, they come back because then they find that, there's a lot of things that we don't know where to go to, and so it's important for them.
And they have an identified person. The counselors, do a lot of that too, but when you have an identified person for it, it's important to note, just our wonderful luck is she's bilingual, and I think has really been able to tap into a population that we haven't maybe represented as maybe well in the past, or they don't feel as represented. So she's been able to make so much headway with like really engaging students and parents in the school community and feeling comfortable coming and asking for help.
Well, it gives you another layer of support, right? Because all these different partners have different focus, and then this is another person that can focus in a different
Yeah,
direction.
we've had great
So,
success with it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
amazing.
great. Thank you, thank you.
Ms. Campbell?
Thank you so much for this. I mean, you can really see how comprehensive the work is and how thoughtful it is about the individual needs of each student. And I'm curious about how far along you are, like what percentage of staff would you say are trauma-based, have been trained in trauma-based supports? And also, what supports are there for the staff? This sort of work can be really hard outside of the teaching, and I'm wondering what layer of supports are there for the staff that are doing this work?
So to answer the beginning part of the question, I can't give you an actual percentage of staff trained, but I can say, and Dr. Perkins, I'm sure would give you a number, but Mara Papil put a lot of emphasis on trauma-sensitive PD. So over the course of her being here, every level, elementary, middle, and high school, has been exposed to trauma-sensitive PD in their career. So when we have new staff, it's really the teams at the site level. Typically, principals will kind of like go over what their practices are, what their missions are for that school, so that new staff have some sense of how they're, using these trauma-sensitive strategies. I'm sorry, what was the second part of your
I'm just
question again?
curious for the staff who do this work day in and day out, can be pretty intense. And I'm just wondering what
It
level of
is.
support there is for those who are engaging in this.
And I think that's where integrating it into part of the school day is so important, because it's not just on one person. It's not on the counselor. It's not just on the teacher. It's a real teamed approach, so that you're constantly talking about these needs and delegating, like, who can best support this, who can best support that. So you're not really felt like you're on an island handling it alone. But I have to say, the staff we have is pretty incredible, and they rise to the challenge. And when there's something that they really do need assistance with, they call. They'll call us. They consult with their student support teams in-house at each building, to rely on each other. And I actually think this year, I do know that Charlie Applestein, in one of our professional developments, offered a new professional development, should be in your packet, about maintaining staff, like how to keep yourself engaged and not get burnt out by the needs. And so he did a training on that as well. He's very well liked, so we plan on inviting him back. So that's something that I can certainly look into, actually, for him to redo that presentation about self-care for staff.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Leung.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for the information. It sounds like you're off to a great start in your relatively new role. I want to thank you for the brief kind of mention of addressing stigma, with our students. Can you just tell me a little bit more about the approaches that you use to kind of address stigma and how it, is such a, barrier to, our students getting some of these vital supports?
So most of that work is done through our SEL platform that we have in the district for Open Parachute. So they have lessons K through 12. They're tailored, developmentally appropriate for each grade level. They have specific lessons on how you have healthy conversations around mental health and normalizing it in a sense that, like, there shouldn't be shame around it. And within that, you talk about, what is the feeling? How do I get help? And it's about how identifying people in school that you can go to. So this is primarily done through health class. They'll do these lessons and engage students in conversation around that and normalizing it in a sense so that there isn't shame around it. So it's done primarily at the tier 1 level through our Open Parachute lessons. There's obviously small groups that we run, but that would be more tier 2 and 3. I think your question was kind of relating more to the tier 1, and that would be done through Open Parachute.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And one more question. I know the schools do a great job surrounding all issues related to privacy. I'm just wondering, for some of these behavioral supports, is it the same or anything extra being done to be, I guess, preventive around privacy and personal
Sure.
information?
Are you meaning like when we're networking with like partnering agencies or within schools?
I was thinking about within schools, but actually you do bring up a good
Okay,
point
so
about
so
the partner agencies.
for example, we would always get parent permission around utilizing our behavioral health navigator. We would say, we have this great resource. Is it okay with you if we give your information? And a parent will agree to that. Same with partnering agency. We never make a referral without permission from a family. So that would be like the partnering stuff. Within school, we talk about confidentiality all the time. It's giving people the information they need to know. So sometimes you don't need to know the nitty-gritty specifics, but you just need to know that a student might need an extra layer of support. And within the school, the educators are trusted with that information, that they'll provide the support necessary. But it would only be given to the teacher or staff that are working directly with that student to provide the intervention.
Great, thank you.
Mrs. Perdios.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and congrats on your position
Thank you.
here. And it sounds, as Mr. Leong said, it sounds like you're off to a great start.
Thank you.
And you seem very knowledgeable about all the parts and the partnerships. And thank you. Thank you for all you and your staff, all you do for our kiddos. I was looking in one of the appendices here on the youth risk behavior survey results, and just, it's staggering. 76% of ninth graders struggle with mental health. 76%, and 71% of female students throughout high school also struggle with mental health, and it's just such a big need that I think it's great that we're stepping in, but it's a lot.
It
It's
is.
it's kind of a never ending. Once you kind of get the surface, there's stuff in there that you want to keep addressing, and so I know it may feel difficult, like you're not getting out of this hole, but it's just so needed, and I just so appreciate all the partnerships that you've developed and that we offer our kids. Do we have any updated information on it? So this youth risk behavior survey that we have in here, I think is from 2024. Do we have anything from 2025? Is that something students take every year, or?
Every 2 years.
Every 2
So
years.
we're going to be administering it next year.
Okay.
So we'll have updated data for you at that
That would
point.
be, that would be
Yeah.
great to see if what we're doing is helping or,
Right.
just impacting it at all. That would be really great to see.
Right.
And so also something Mr. Leong said about so security and and privacy and sharing, but also that information, as you said, does need to get to different people, the educators. And so I feel like we have a lot of people delivering SEL services. How are we connecting them all together? How is it told to an educator that a student might need an extra layer of support? Is that in like Aspen? Where does that go?
No, it wouldn't really be an Aspen. What would be an Aspen would be an indicator that maybe a student's on an IEP, and people can see that there may be a social emotional goal. So that is one way. But I think the day-to-day is really done at the school level, and it's done at different levels. Like elementary have, I can tell you this is, I'm kind of going back, maybe 15 years or so, 20 years. But when I was at Lincoln Hancock, we just had a system where, we had like a purple paw or something that we just gave to the teacher with a student name that just said, today the student needs a little extra something. That's like the day-to-day stuff. But to get more specific, student needs are discussed at SST. And from SST, administrators and people there will kind of give the appropriate information, even to classroom teachers. Like, I think it's important for classroom teachers to know if a student is experiencing a lot of dysregulation or a lot of turmoil in their life without giving the specifics, just a heads up, so that, they can kind of plan accordingly and help the student best they can.
Okay, and are the school nurses kind of looped in that as well?
Yeah, so I should have said that they're part of the student support teams at pretty much every building, I would say, in the district. So nurses would be there, counselors would be there, administrators would be there. There's typically a rotation of teachers that are even in there. So yes, nurses are always clued in on that.
Okay, great. And our security staff at the high schools, where did they fit in? I feel like they're handling problems that arise or crises that arise. Are they aware of some of the students that may need extra supports, or how did the security staff fill in on this training and the SEL supports?
Yeah, they're aware usually of sometimes students who may need like extra support or things like that, but we are careful about the, personal information that we release, because it really is, per the regulations, it's supposed to be limited to staff that directly work with the student. So I think, as Mr. Leung said, we don't want this information traveling necessarily all over the school. So we tell them what they need to know. You know, if you see that the student isn't supposed to be in the hallway in between periods, or, you know, that whatever, like, you know, different things like that, or the student might be coming in late, you know, and that's okay, you know, like those kinds of things. They will tell them those things.
Okay, that's sort of what I mean. If they're going to be, you know, responding to a situation, it's good sometimes to have that
Yeah,
information.
or like,
and knowing how to
you know, don't, if you see the student in the hallway, don't confront them, come
Right.
get me.
Yep.
Come get the
Okay.
counselor. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? Like
Yep.
those kinds of things are the things that we definitely make sure the security guards are aware of.
Okay.
Probably more safety related.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the social emotional piece. It's more safety stuff that the security guards would be informed about.
And last question I have is, how, can you tell me how kernels and open, so last year was a huge open parachute push, and this year I feel like there's a big kernels push. And it sounds like now we're doing both. And how does that work together? And are teachers able to, or educators able to get all of that in a way that's effective?
Yeah, so I think a distinct difference is that open parachute is all levels, K through 12. Kernels is specific to elementary. So the only overlap there would be at the elementary level. And we look at it as just like another tool for teachers to pull from. So the nice thing about kernels is it doesn't follow a scope and sequence. So teachers can actually really kind of like look at the needs of their current class in front of them and pull from appropriate lessons that they can implement, where most other SEL curriculums follow a scope and sequence that lock you in to a certain progression that you have to follow. So I would say open parachute for right now, it's not taking a back seat in elementary. We have kernels as like an added layer, but middle school and high school don't have that. So they're primarily still using open parachute.
I gotcha. Okay, thank you so much. And just, you know, again, a last thank you for, I mean, these students are so, you know, these are our vulnerable students that that you're dealing with, and you're helping, you know, from our homeless students to, you know, just kiddos that, you know, the suicide prevention stuff you're doing. It's just, it's so important, and I just thank you so much for it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Student Representative, Quincy High School.
So I just had a comment about, you mentioned Big Futures mentoring briefly. And I wanted to say that I think it's been a big success at Quincy High so far. I've been a part of it for both my years at Quincy High. This past weekend, I went to see my mentor's biochemical engineering lab in Boston, where he cures cancer for a living. That's just one of these great experiences our mentors can provide us with. Aaron Gordon, who runs the Big Futures at Quincy High, is super great. And he really cares about the program. It's pretty clear. And I think Mr. Leung is actually a mentor there. So thank you for that. Yeah, I think it's going really well. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you, MJ. I love to hear that feedback. The mentor program is supposed to be, you know, college and career exposure and readiness. So that's why they have these targeted field trips to kind of expose students to what's out there. So I love that you've taken part in it and that you're benefiting from it. Thank you.
North Quincy High all set? Okay. All right. Mr. Bergoli.
Congratulations, Jill, on your new position.
Thank
I know
you.
you do a great job. On the attendance offices, do you have enough? Do we have enough?
Yeah, I'd say so. So we had 3, and then as Dr. Perkins mentioned, I think it was the end of last year or this year where we got a half-time person.
does it part-time.
And the part-time person right now is really doing the bulk of residency. So that person isn't going out and doing maybe like the day-to-day work, like, we've noticed you're out, how can we help you get to school? So we've taken the residency checks kind of off the day-to-day work and given that to this part-time position, which I can only speak for this year, but I've talked to people who historically know, which has like lifted a huge burden off them. So adding that position has been really helpful.
And who is that?
That's Jim Hooley.
Okay, I've heard his name. What percent of time is spent in court with the attendance officers and families?
Not a lot. They have identified days, Thursdays, so it depends who's on their caseload, because I don't have the percentage. I could get it for you. Last year, they're only bringing X amount of kids to when you get to that level. There's a lot of work that's done before that. So court would be dependent on how many students they're bringing forth for like CRAs and things like that. So it's typically a small number.
Okay. And at the elementary level, the counselors, are they still doing the chairperson work?
Yes, they are.
They are? And what percentage of time do you think they spend on that as opposed to direct service?
A lot. I'd say probably over 50. The nice thing, though, that I can say is that the district has worked really hard and with the support of school committee, that most of the elementary schools have two counselors, or at least half of them have two counselors. So that's been able for them to divide that chairperson work with the traditional guidance work. But you're right, it's a big duty. I'd say it's probably at least 50% of their time.
Thank you.
How many families do we have working in the Hope and Comfort program now?
Families, I don't know how many, but I can tell you that the products were delivered to, this year, all elementary schools and Point Webster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it reached a lot of families, if you think of how many students, I don't have an exact number for you, though, but I know those were the schools.
That's great that we're working with that many
Yep.
schools now. That's increased. And thank you so much for this. I had asked for more of that every year, and so I'm glad that
Oh,
it's
good.
still
I'm
in there.
glad.
So I look for
Okay.
this every year. And so with that, if we could have a motion to approve the program improvement plan, motion by Mr. Bergoli, seconded by Mrs. Cahill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next on the agenda, we have Mathematics Program Improvement Plan, Ms. Quinn. Feel free to start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Good evening, members of the school committee, Superintendent Mulvey, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Perkins, and members of the SLT. As always, it's a pleasure to be here to update you on all the wonderful math work that's being done across the district. We are incredibly fortunate to have a dedicated team of 11 math specialists who support all our elementary schools and 2 of our middle schools. The mathematics program identifies and supports students who face challenges in developing foundational math skills. Students are identified by the integrated learning team based on assessment results and overall math performance. The goal of this intervention is to strengthen and reinforce students' understanding of key numeracy skills and concepts. And once students are identified, math specialists analyze the data, they develop targeted action plans, and then use evidence-based materials and activities. And a list of these resources and interventions can be found on page 6. Last year, our first 2 goals mirrored the district's MCAS and MAP goals. The math team contributed by focusing on enhancing the students' math fluency and number sense. In addition to providing small group instruction, the math specialists pushed into classrooms to co-teach lessons, facilitated centers, and addressed students' needs in real time. Whether offering extra time with illustrative mathematics activities and games, or introducing new ones, this additional practice helps students reinforce and solidify their learning. And on page 7 and 8, you can see that we achieved our MCAS goal at every grade level with the exception of grade 5, and at every grade level when looking at those MAP results. Our third goal, outlined on page 9, was the math team's design and development of the Foundations of Math class that was offered to our first group of QPS teachers over the course of 3 days just this past August. The teachers took a deep dive into the progression of early numeracy, and the feedback was better than we could have ever expected. One teacher said, "I cannot wait to explore the resources that were given and appreciated that we had time to play the games, understand the reasoning, and have some fun too. I am more confident heading into this year than I have in the past, and I'm very appreciative of that." Another teacher said, "We had many great conversations, worked out any confusion that students might have with games, and received different manipulatives to work with. I have already begun recommending this course to other teachers in Quincy, and they are interested in learning more about it. And then finally, I thought this course was a great resource. Being a kindergarten teacher, many times PD only showcases the upper grades. What was so nice about this course was that it highlighted how in kindergarten, all of these math concepts are beginning. It was also great to see and hear how these concepts apply to the older grades. I think that this course would be great for anyone that teaches math as a subject. It can benefit teachers from pre-K all the way through middle and high school. And we're looking forward to offering this course again this summer, and we're hoping to get even more QPS teachers to be a part of that. Our fourth and final goal from last year, which can also be found on page 9, was to collect and curate at least 10 digital math resources for families to combat that summer slide. These resources are posted on the math resource page of the QPS website, and I'm happy to share that as of today, this resource page had been visited 1,046 times. I'd like to now shift to our math team goals for this current year. And if you look on page 11, you'll see again that the first 2 goals mirror our district MCAS and MAP goals. The team will aid students in their math journey and support the classroom teachers. In addition to giving targeted instruction to our math students, the team will support teachers with the administration of the math and help their schools facilitate ILT meetings where they analyze data, share findings, and make adjustments to their schedules as needed. If you turn to page 13, you'll find Goal 3, which focuses on the team working on mathematizing their school. This vision involves bringing math front and center and to get the entire school excited about math. The team will have Dr. Nikki Newton's and Janet Newsy's book, Mathematizing Your Schools, Creating a Culture of Math Success, as their guide, and the team will create opportunities for students to see and do math around the school, not just in the math class. So it's snug. You'll see stairs labeled so students can skip count as they travel between their floors. At Bernazani, though, you'll need to look up as those numbers can be seen on the ceiling beams as you walk through the hallways. Many of the schools have interactive bulletin boards. If you look at the cover of this PIP, you will see a picture of a bulletin board that hangs in the cafeteria at Clifford Marshall. And this winter scene encourages the students to find and count items as they eat their lunch. As I wrap up my presentation, there is one additional unofficial goal the team and I worked on this past year, and that was updating the math mission statement. This was something that we had wanted to do for a long time, and it was no easy task. We had dozens of iterations before we settled on the final version. I will end my presentation by sharing it with you, and you can find it back on page 3 if you choose to follow along. The core mission of Quincy Public Schools is for every student to approach mathematics with confidence, be empowered to think quantitatively, and to be creative problem solvers. We are committed to actively engaging students in experiences that promote curiosity and inquiry, all the while maintaining high expectations by utilizing rich math tasks. We aspire to move students beyond the memorization of procedural components and elicit and celebrate different approaches to problem solving. We will consistently strive to maintain high expectations, cultivate student engagement through growth mindset, solidify student understanding through the use of manipulatives and models, differentiate instruction through tiered activities, small groups, and targeted centers, elevate discourse to promote discovery and convey understanding. We believe that mathematics goes beyond subject matter and skill acquisition, ultimately inspiring individuals to become lifelong learners. The math team is very proud of all the work that we accomplished last year, and we look forward to implementing the 2025-2026 Mathematics Program Improvement Plan over the next coming months. And at this time, I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Leung?
Thank you for your presentation. Couldn't agree more about math being so foundational. I know firsthand, being in a STEM industry. I do have a question about the summer slide. I was wondering if that is a measurable effect. Does that show up every year? And is it more pronounced in certain grades? And then more generally, I was wondering if you had subgroup data on the results, 2024 to 2025.
We definitely see a summer slide across the board when we look at MAP and we compare how they did in the spring and how they did in the fall. I don't know if we've looked at it in terms of if any grade in particular, we definitely haven't, that hasn't popped out at us in terms of that, but we definitely see students' grades. We have that little dip and then we rebound in winter and then obviously in the spring.
Okay, and then what about just more generally, subgroup data for different grades?
Yeah, we definitely.
We do.
Yeah.
We can share that with you. It's in the district
The district,
improvement
yeah.
plan. So we can absolutely send that to you.
Great, thank you.
Mrs. Perdios?
Thank you. Thank you for this. I know how excited and passionate you are about all things math, and it's always great to read the plan that you prepared and hear you speak about it. Quick question, and then just a quick kind of observation. For your math goal number 3, mathematizing schools, is this all schools or is it different grade levels? What are we talking about on that?
It would be the schools that the math interventionists are in, so it would be all the elementary schools and Southwest and Point Webster.
Okay. And how do you plan to measure that goal? Is that something that, I know next year you're going to reflect on the goals. How is it something that you're going to feel like you've succeeded at or not succeeded at on that goal?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel in terms of what we look at, like one of the things we actually did today because we had a math meeting was share what other schools have started doing now so that we can do several things in terms of that. We also look for feedback from the students and what they like and what they enjoy in terms of, another thing that one of the schools does is puts different riddles and stuff by the bathroom because teachers at the elementary age will walk their student down. So feedback from the teachers of what the students are engaged about and what they like as well.
That's great. Excellent. And then just an observation, just that, when you were reading the mission statement, it really kind of hit me, although I did read it, but it kind of hit me more when you were reading it, that just when we were in, when I was in school 100 years ago, you memorized the way to do it and you memorized the formula and that's how you did it. You didn't have conversations. There weren't multiple ways to do it. And if you happen to get the right answer, that's great, but that wasn't the right way to do it because it was the way the book told you to do it or the teacher told you to do it. So just the way that we approach math now, I think is just so much more approachable for just different students. I know I was okay at math, but I didn't love it. And I think that this might be a way to just get kids to really like math a lot more. So I hope that you're seeing that. And I think it's just such a culture shift and it's great to see. So thank you very much.
We definitely are. With the implementation of illustrative mathematics, we are definitely seeing more students more comfortable with math, participating more, feeling and admitting that they're a math student. It's been great.
Yeah, I think it just brings in that SEL piece a little bit even too, with what we were just talking about, just encouraging the confidence and just, getting kids to get out of their comfort zone and feel okay with it. So
Yeah.
thank you
It's-
very
it's
much for all the work
definitely
you
more
do.
inclusive in
It's more
terms
than
of
just
that.
the numbers, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Bergoli?
Thank you again. Again, the grade 5 MCAS goal is not met again.
Yeah.
And I asked previously whether there's some developmental issue involved with what they're asking on the test as opposed to what they're able to comprehend. And do we have that answer yet?
Well, I think in terms of when we do look at the test and we look at the shift from 3rd grade to 4th grade, 4th grade to 5th grade, there is a shift in the types of questions that are asked. So there's less ones that are straightforward, where it's just the problem and it's asking them to compute. It's asking them to apply the information that they learn and use it in a different way that maybe they haven't seen it before. So there's definitely that shift in fifth grade. And we see that when we look at across the state, there's a dip from fourth grade to fifth grade. So it's not just a Quincy thing. When we look at that and we look at the other districts, we see third grade, then up to fourth grade, and then there's a dip in fifth grade in terms of that, because the test it's much more challenging, those questions for them. And that can, it's a shift in the kids,
I don't know if, it's developmental or it's test design, maybe,
I was gonna
you
ask,
know,
is
so.
it a fair test for
I don't think
a
it's a
fifth
fear
grader?
of test. I think
Oh,
it's
fair.
a fair test. Oh, sorry, I thought you said fear. I mean, it could be a fear too, but it's not. But yeah, I mean, it's rigorous. It's very rigorous, and I think that they're asking students to do in fourth grade. It's kind of a lot of what they're used to. It's still a lot more like computational, more at like a basic level. And now then you jump into like the fifth grade, and now they're asking them to like apply it to novel problems, and take all the information they learned, consolidate it, and apply it in a different way. And I think that throws kids for a loop the first time they see it. And I think you see it rebound in middle school. We definitely saw it rebound in middle school. But I think that the first time they see that type of a question, I think is very challenging. So, whether or not I couldn't say whether or not it's a fair assessment. I think as Kim said, it's a common issue throughout the state that this dip happens. So, hopefully the test designers will take a look at that as they continue to, pilot questions and do things like that. But, so we're working on it. We have new curricula. Kim's been working on it extensively, working with the teachers in fifth grade to make sure we're doing our part and we're exposing the kids to these kinds of problems. So those are kind of all things that we're working on.
Well, if it's systemic, then somebody at the state level needs to take a look at it.
Yeah.
It's not fair to our kids.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mrs. Cahill.
So when you just said you've been working with the fifth graders to those kinds of questions, how long have we been doing that? Like, have we been, trying to train, I don't want to say train them, like, should we be doing like a little pilot and just take some fifth graders and just like really, just to see if it's the test or if it, if we can give them examples of what these questions are going to be like, really drill it into them and see what their success is going to be on the on the test, and it's basically going to be teaching to the test, right? Like, do we want to do that? But also, are we not teaching them to think in those terms? Is that something that we should be doing? And does that carry through? Is that those are the kinds of questions that these kids are getting from fifth grade on? Or is it just in fifth grade? The application of the different theories in math and all that
No,
stuff.
it's the shift that happens from fourth grade to fifth grade where
So
they.
the type of
right.
testing.
Yeah.
So should we be like doing a little bit more of that to try to get them to learn how to do that work? So when they get to fifth grade?
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about that. We've done our professional development when we work with the grade 3 to 5 teachers. We talk a lot about how we can give them that practice without teaching to the test,
Yeah.
right? Where we can put those in, times that we can, and where it falls in the curriculum, where it makes sense, so that they can see how it's applied, right? So that we're not just doing a question randomly, we're pulling in a question when we're doing that fraction unit and adding those pieces into it. So we have a great resource that I actually got from another district where they pulled all those questions by grade level. All the teachers have access to that. We have it on a shared drive. We've started to do more work where we align them to illustrative mathematics, right? So it makes it a little bit easier than just looking at it by, like, say, fractions or whatever. So we are doing that work as you
So
say,
it's-
without like stopping everything and just trying to like get them ready for a test.
I kind of feel like it's a little bit like the SATs and things like that. When the kids are taking these tests, it's not, sometimes it's not about, when you go and they go to take training, you know, they go and pay for training to take the SATs. It's basically training them how to take that test so that they can succeed in it. And again, I don't believe that in that theory, but is it a way to get the students to start thinking in how to apply that math going forward, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Right, yeah, and a lot of.
You know more than I do and what you need to be doing, but it just seems like if we know that there's a shift there, that maybe that's the direction we should be kind of going.
And I think we did that with switching over to Leicester Mathematics, because that has a lot of that. We're applying that. We just need to make sure that we're doing more of it, because like everyone can attest to, no matter what subject, that issue of time and how much time you have with your students to do that. Especially like by fifth grade, we're switching classes, we're rotating, we're not self-contained anymore. So we have that finite time of trying to get everything in and trying to do that, so.
A lot of change.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a lot to do, and the teachers are doing a wonderful job with it, you know? And I feel like each year we do a little better at doing that and figuring out the best way to balance all of that, because, I mean, their schedules sometimes change year to year too, in terms of
Yeah, it's complicated.
how many classes
Yep.
they're teaching, how many students they have, all of that.
Okay, thank you.
Just curious, on the last page, you talk about extended day opportunities, parent academies. Do we have that scheduled yet, focusing on combating math anxiety?
Yes, actually, March 3rd.
March 3rd.
Yes, that'll be at Central Middle School at 6 PM.
6 PM?
Yep.
Okay. It was funny, I was reading it, and when I read that, focusing on combating math anxiety, I was thinking of it like from the child's point of view and the children having anxiety over learning math. And then I thought about it and I said, well, maybe I'm wrong, because it could be from the parents' perspective of working with their children about trying to do math at home. Because I've heard an equal number of parents who say, oh my goodness, I have to help my child with math homework tonight. I have no idea what this says. I don't have any idea how to help them, and it's causing the parents to have anxiety. So it almost could go either way on which direction this is actually, this parent academy is going towards. So was my next question was going to ask you, is it which of the, or is it both?
She's actually going to address both.
Okay, great.
So Dr. Sabdani actually was with us during the November 4th PD, and she did actually 2 different sessions. One was specifically geared to, for teachers to take what to do with your students that might have math anxiety. But then she had another session where she talked about if the teacher themselves have math anxiety and how to, deal with that. And for this Parent Academy, she's going to meld both of those together. She's going to talk about the research, she's going to talk about ways to help your student and also to help yourself if you do have that math anxiety of like, oh no, you're asking me a question in math tonight, why can't it be something else?
Yes.
So yes, she's going to talk about both. So we're very excited about it, and it's going to be opened up through elementary and middle school, and she'll give some games and activities and stuff for the parents to be able to bring home, and students will be able to come as well to learn some games and activities to just help with math and, making them feel more comfortable and feeling like everybody can do math, which is true.
Yeah, I've seen a number of times on Facebook where parents will post a math problem and say, I don't know how to help my child. Can somebody help me explain this to my child?
Yeah.
Very common. The other thing I was going to ask is talking about parent academies. Greg Tang, are we going to get him back?
Oh, you know what?
It's been a number of years since we've had him.
It's been a number of years. We can look into it. I don't know if he travels anymore, so I think it would probably have to be virtual.
Yeah, I was going to say, we had a Zoom with him
Yeah.
many years ago, and he is amazing.
Yes.
I mean, it was a really
No,
good
it has been a
presenter.
while
We
since
can
we've
reach
had
out
him.
and see if
Yes.
we can add him back.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have anything from our student representatives? All set? Okay, great. And with that, I have a motion to approve. Motion by Mrs. Perdios. Second by Mrs. Cahill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Okay, next on the agenda is Literacy Program Improvement Plan. Ms. Vaughan to present. And you can begin as soon as you're ready.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Good evening, Vice Chair Hubley, members of the school committee, Superintendent Mulvey, and all of my colleagues here tonight. I'm honored and thankful to be presenting the Quincy Public Schools Literacy Program Improvement Plan. I'd like to begin tonight not with a chart or a data point, but with a child. It's 8:15 a.m. in a Quincy Public Schools elementary classroom. A second grader hangs up their backpack, grabs a book bin, and settles onto the rug. The teacher opens the morning message, and together the class reads it aloud. Some students glide through the words. Others pause, sound out, and try again. Everyone is reading, and everyone belongs. Later that morning, during literacy block, that same student rotates into a small group. The lesson is targeted and intentional. They tap out phonemes, map sounds to letters, reread a decodable text for fluency, and pause to talk about what the text means, not just what it says. When they finish, they smile. Reading felt doable today. Down the hall, a kindergarten class is clapping syllables and playing with sounds. First graders are building words with magnetic letters. Third graders are writing about what they've read, using evidence from the text to support their thinking. Across the building, literacy looks different, but the purpose is the same. At lunchtime, our student excitedly tells a friend about a character from their audiobook, accessed through Sora with a single sign-on. After school, they stay for a literacy club where reading is joyful, social, and fun. At home that night, a caregiver opens up a Home Connect letter and sees progress, not just scores, but growth. This is what literacy looks like in the Quincy Public Schools. It's not one program or one test. It's a system designed to catch students early, respond to their needs, and build confident, capable readers. It's phonemic awareness and phonics, vocabulary and fluency, writing and comprehension. It's data and heart and structure and creativity. Tonight, I'll share how our literacy program has continued to strengthen that system over the past year, what our data tells us, where we've made meaningful gains, where we still have work to do, and how our goals for 25-26 build directly from what we've learned. Because every data point represents a child, like the one we just met, and every decision we make shapes their day, their confidence, and their future as a reader. Over the past year, the Quincy Public Schools Literacy Program has remained focused on one core belief, that early, intentional, research-aligned literacy instruction changes outcomes for children. In reflecting on 24-25 goals found on page 10, our first goal was to reduce the percentage of K-3 students identified as well below benchmark in foundational reading skills using our Amplify MClass with Dibble's early literacy screener. We saw encouraging and meaningful progress. Kindergarten met the goal precisely with a 15% reduction from fall to spring. Grade 2 also met its 7% reduction target. Grade 1 made progress, decreasing by 8%, though falling short of the 15% target. Particularly notable, though, given stronger entry data compared to the previous year. And grade 3 remained an area of concern with a slight increase in students identified as well below benchmark. This data matters, not as judgment, but as direction. In response, we're adding a grade 3 CKLA skills intervention, strengthening targeted supports at a critical transition point where texts become more complex and expectations increase. Our second goal on page 12 focused on reading comprehension measured by NWEA map growth in grades 2 and 3. Here the results were particularly strong. Grade 2 exceeded the growth target by nearly 3 RIT points, and grade 3 exceeded its target by more than 2 points. These gains reflect the impact of intentional small group instruction, consistent use of high-quality materials, and educators deeply engaged in analyzing and responding to data. When we look across 5 years of map growth found on page 15, we see a clear pattern. Quincy students are sustaining strong reading growth over time, evidence that our systems are working and improving. This year reinforced several important truths. Early screening and progress monitoring matter. Strong Tier 1 instruction paired with responsive Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports changes trajectories. Professional learning directly impacts student outcomes, and literacy success requires coordination across classrooms, schools, families, and systems. Our goals for the coming year, found on pages 17 and 18, are intentionally calibrated, ambitious, but grounded in data and developmental realities. Goal 1 continues our work in reducing early reading risk across grades K through 3, with differentiated targets that reflect where students are and where they need to go. Goal 2 maintains strong expectations for reading comprehension growth in grades 2 and 3, aligned with national norms and past success. To support these goals, our action steps listed on pages 18 through 23 focus on strengthening early literacy screening systems and guidance, deepening data analysis through ILT collaboration, expanding access to high-quality instructional tools like Lexia Core 5, Read Live, and CKLA, and many others, enhancing multilingual learner supports through native language resources, increasing student access to high-quality text through Sora and audiobooks. Professional learning remains the engine of this work. You can find our comprehensive list of professional development on pages 24 through 27. In 2025-26, educators will continue to engage in Orton Gillingham certification and coursework, Lexia Amplify and Read Naturally implementation coaching, writing instruction through the Writing Revolution and the Writing Pathway, conferences, workshop, and literacy institutes aligned to real classroom needs. This is not a one-size-fits-all PD. It is targeted, ongoing, and directly connected to student data and classroom practice. In looking ahead, at its core, this work is about equity and access. It's about ensuring that every child, regardless of background, language, or learning profile, has the tools to become a strong reader, writer, and thinker. We're proud of the progress we've made. We're clear-eyed about where we need to improve. And we are deeply committed to continuing this work with urgency, collaboration, and care. Because tomorrow morning, another Quincy student will walk into a classroom, open a book, and begin again. And they deserve nothing less than our very best. On behalf of our amazing QPS literacy specialists and ELA educators, I want to thank all of you for the support you provide in reaching our literacy endeavors, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you. That was very eloquently done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have questions from my colleagues. Mrs. Perdios.
Thank you. Thank you so much, excuse me, Mrs. Vaughan, for this. Just so that I'm sure that my questions are going to be framed correctly. So the interventions in this PIP are just limited to grades K to 3, correct?
For the purposes of this literacy program improvement plan, yes, but many that you see listed here are also extended to many other grades as well.
Okay, that's sort of I have a couple of little questions, but that's my kind of overarching question is, I remember from when Quincy High School came and presented their school improvement plan, I know a lot of their goals, and in fact, I asked Mr. Smith and Mr. Ellis a little bit more about this, but their goals were focused kind of on reading and getting students to understand the text better than they are currently understanding the text. And I had kind of asked them a little bit more, we really think, comprehension is an issue, and they said yes. And so I'm wondering, should we be expanding kind of what we're focusing on for our literacy program in this to kind of more to go out, right? To go, and I know we're doing things at higher grades, but in a way that we're looking at it sort of like we are here. So I wanted to sort of get your thoughts on if you thought, knowing that that's happening at the high school level, that they're feeling like reading comprehension is still an issue there. And sort of on page 17 here, where our goal for the spring is for grade 3 for 15% of students to not be identified as well below benchmark. So there are still students that are below benchmark at grade 3. Do you feel that we should be expanding our kind of official efforts and what we're tracking and what we're doing here to include some of the higher grades?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. Historically, for the purposes of this program improvement plan, it's been on early literacy foundational reading skills, which includes grade 3. In fact, if you remember a couple of years ago, Massachusetts finally recognized that by making that early literacy regulation that all schools include grade 3 with their early literacy screening. But I see what you mean, and I do think that that is happening. It does happen a little more formally, say, for example, in the special education program improvement plan and in our district data presentation that we do when we look at all the data. We include MCAS with that. If you notice, the goals here are focused, the data points, I guess I should say, are focused more on the early literacy screener and the comprehension from the lens of the MAP test. But many of the interventions, because we know it's still a need in other grade levels, are continued beyond grade 3.
Okay.
So that's something that we can discuss. I don't know, Erin, if you have any
Yeah,
thoughts.
I mean, I think that we focus on a lot of what Bridget does. Yes, she focuses on comprehension, but she's also focusing on the decoding and the phonemic awareness, particularly obviously in grade K to 3, because that's where it starts. Because if you can't decode the text, you're going to have really a harder time comprehending it. So when she talks about the well below, that's really focused on the phonics of it, and the phonological processing of it. That is what our literacy intervention is. So Bridget, this plan was initially created to support the literacy intervention team. And so those educators, which I think there's about 24-ish of them, right? 24?
20.
20,
Yep.
okay. So, and they support K to 3 students and pull small groups and things like that. So we don't have literacy interventionists at the older grade levels. Certainly something we can talk about. I mean, I think obviously, more literacy intervention is a wonderful thing. So as Ms. Vaughan said, we do those things, and the teachers do them in the classroom, but we don't have that like intervention piece where we're pulling them out because a student has, struggled on the map for comprehension or struggled on, another screener for, sound fluency or something like that. We don't have that. So it's all happening in the gen ed classroom or, in some cases with the special education teacher. So it's just something when we look at, budget priorities, maybe something to talk about and consider, because I do think more literacy is great. I think more math is a great thing. You're never going to get me to say more of those two things are not good. But, it's just a matter of what the budget allows and then where we place our priorities. But we certainly work with staff to make sure those things are happening in the classroom.
Right. Yeah. No, I think more my question was exactly what you answered at the end, was that our interventionists kind of only pull up until grade 3. And that's sort of what I was asking about, is just to try to, it was surprising to me to learn that reading comprehension, they're seeing that as a struggle that they're having at the high school level. And so I've been waiting for this presentation so I could sort of say, how far down the stream should we be going to kind of support these kiddos so that when they're getting to high school, they're not struggling with reading comprehension, right? So just that might be something that we need to look at budgeting time if you guys feel like, as you're working with the high school teams and just sort of seeing how that's connecting to the early literacy interventions we're doing, maybe that is a priority that could be helpful to some of those outcomes at the high school level too. So thank you for your thoughts on that.
I'll just add one more thing.
yeah.
So also at the high school, we have only implemented high quality instructional materials in a really cohesive way in the last few years. So those students wouldn't be in high school just yet. I can tell you that the middle school teachers are seeing a positive impact with those students coming up. With all the continued training and coaching that we do with new staff at the elementary level. And I know many of you on this committee have commented about the knowledge topics and the level of language comprehension orally that's happening at the same time that those foundational and decoding skills are happening. The oral comprehension and the knowledge base, the building knowledge along the way, is also now happening at the same time. So hopefully we will see less of that need for understanding and comprehending complex text as they move up through the grades.
That's great. Thank you for that context. And just my couple other kind of shorter questions on when you're reflecting on your goals from last year. I appreciated the context and the ways you're addressing the goals that you didn't quite hit on those. So I appreciated understanding the context that we didn't quite hit that on grade 1, but that they started kind of well below. So that was a helpful context to have. So thank you for including that. And I was going to ask you on goal number 2, and again, this is sort of your reflection of last year, but do you think setting some kind of a MAP increase goal just for the kids receiving tier 2 and 3 literary supports, do you think that might be a helpful way of tracking progress, to sort of, instead of kind of looking at all the MAP tests, just sort of looking at the MAP tests for the kiddos that are receiving the more targeted instructions, just to see if those are making a difference?
Typically we use MAP as a growth versus the achievement of MCAS. So could consider it and maybe disaggregate it that way. But I like the idea of everybody feeling responsible for all students growing and using that goal for all. But we could disaggregate it,
Yeah, maybe taking a peek
Yeah.
at that, just to make sure that what we're doing is, we're not being kind of offset by the kiddos that are fine with the tier 1 supports, and just, just so we really see if we're making a difference in the kiddos that are really needing those supports. That would be great to see, maybe just in a separate graph.
Sure.
That's perfect, thank you. And then just to see the, next year, I'd love to see the plan just include which items on the action steps are new and which are continued and which are revised. That's super helpful, just to sort of understand what we're doing that's different and new, so we can sort of focus on that. And that was my only suggestion on that. But thank you very
Okay,
much
thank you.
for all the work you're doing. It's super great, and your staff as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I would just like to say that I have recognized how comprehensive the literacy program seems, and how much it has changed or maybe grown over years. I have a kindergartner and first grader, and anecdotally, I hear them playing with sounds all the time and grilling each other, like saying a word and saying, okay, what's the middle sound? And I find it really interesting that there's a lot more sounds that they make, instead of, they're reading differently, I guess, than my older children learn to read. And I find it much more effective hearing them try to, learn how to read. I also have noticed how intentional the small groups seem. And I mean, that's kudos. It seems really impressive. Wherever you fall, whatever level you fall at with your literacy, there is a group of support for you. And it seems like the teachers utilize the students to support one another, and also in playing games with one another. And so that it seems more fun, I guess, is what I have noticed, that my girls are really enjoying literacy differently. So thank you for that.
Thank you. That's great feedback.
Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for painting that vivid picture at the beginning. It sounds similar to what goes on in my house. I have 3 young readers, but there's always room for improvement. I'm curious to hear your opinion, and/or if you have the research on the role that audiobooks play as a tool or a supplement in building literacy skills.
Sure. So we've sort of just added that informally this year at the suggestion of a QPS parent. And the great thing about Sora, this application, is that now with single sign-on, students can access the curated books that we choose that connect to either the curriculum or the decoding skill or the diversity. We're just adding in text from Raising Multicultural Kids into Sora, but also they don't need to have a library card. So they can also access any book from the Old Colony Library Network, which is, what Thomas Crane Public Library is a part of, and they can read audiobooks. My opinion on the good or the bad about audiobooks, I think, when we're talking about access and equity, I think it's a great thing. It's more access for more students for what they need. I mean, Sora is an application where, depending on what the publisher offers, those books can be available in ebook form with dyslexia fonts, with, students with visual impairments can make the text bigger or smaller. They can highlight, they can annotate. And then other books the publishers release as audiobooks, which, we just had a presentation, was that last week? I think it was last week. With Citywide PTO about the benefits of Sora. And so we talked about, things like audiobooks being played in a car ride. And if you're out for a walk, and you can have stories available to you no matter where you are with an audiobook. But, if you're asking my opinion, I think print is super important, but I think access and equity, language comprehension orally, and then also being able to decode and print is obviously the goal for literacy. So I think more access is always better. I don't have the research around specifically what those specific benefits are, but does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I could just add, I am a big fan of audiobooks as a former special education teacher, So I agree with Ms. Vaughan. I think we think very similarly on literacy. We're very aligned. And I agree with Ms. Vaughan that print is really important in exposing students to print, but sometimes when you have a student, especially a student who may be dyslexic or a struggling reader, and they need to access grade level text, it relieves a burden because the whole time that they're reading, it for students who are either learning to read or struggle as dyslexic students or students with dyslexia, that's a lot of effort for a student to decode when they're learning how to do that. And so when you take that lift off of them for like grade level text, like if your class is reading Because of Winn-Dixie or something like that, right? And you want the student, as Ms. Vaughan said, to have access and to be able to read what all of the other students in their class are reading, at a pace that's going to let them keep up. I think audiobooks are a really wonderful option. I always encourage families to have their child read along with it. So have the hard copy with them and listen to the audiobook at the same time. It also, I think, is really important because it provides a student with a model reader. So they're learning intonation and inflection and how you pause when you read. So I think it's all wonderful. But as a special education teacher, I can tell you, and as a special education director and administrator and having done extensive work in special education, there's a lot of research to support that when you're providing. I used to do it years and years ago. It was called like Recording for the Blind and Dyslexic, and I used to have audiobooks for all my kids so that they could access the 7th grade materials. So I think you're still teaching these students how to read, how to decode. You're still really pushing the exposure to print and the decodable text and things like that. But to provide access to grade level curricula, I do think audiobooks is a really great option.
Excellent. Thank you for that insight.
Got a couple of questions. Are all our resource room teachers certified in Orton Gillingham?
I believe so. If not, we are at a really good place right now.
I'm
Ms.
sorry,
Graham
did you
is
say
behind me
special
here.
education?
Yeah, we
Special
are,
education, yes. EL, many of our EL are also certified,
Okay.
and our literacy teachers are also certified.
Very good.
so
we have a
I just
large
sent out
number.
an email. Are there any new staff that we need to, that aren't, that we may have missed for whatever reason? We're at a really good place right now with Orton Gillingham, but we continue to sponsor QPS teachers in doing the full level 2 training, which is the associate level.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
You know, when do kids, is it a certain grade level where they finish learning how to read and then they are reading to learn?
So.
Which maybe could help answer Mrs. Perdios' question.
Yeah, so typically it's when you talked about math and grade that transition in grade 5, it's grade 3. That's the grade, but we still have students, and we may be kind of at, for lack of a better phrase, a sweet spot with that well below benchmark at 15%, because we've been watching that, since COVID to see like where is that going to level off a little bit. And we're still going to have ambitious goals, but sometimes that's where it happens. So even in our curricula, right? In our K-2 curricula, there's foundational skills instruction and building knowledge instruction. In grade 3 and on, those two are integrated into one, and that's where we start to see the students that are really struggling that need more support with that. So what we are doing, in addition to the things that are mentioned in the program improvement plan, is continuing to focus professional development for non-resource room teachers, for general education teachers about small group instruction, on having students be able to code multisyllabic words. When Ms. Campbell mentioned playing with words, using games, things like that, she was kind of speaking my language, where we're not just memorizing lists of words. We're learning how to decode them so that when you're reading more complex text and the words, if you know how to decode pieces, then you can put that multisyllabic word together and move on, right? And when you know roots and Latin and Greek root words, you can decode a lot, you can understand the meaning and comprehend a lot of other words, right? So we're trying to come from that approach. But I don't think you ever stop just learn to read to learn. I would, that's sort of like, I know we all have heard of that phrase. I would say it's around 3rd, 4th grade, but I would want to say that we continue to learn to read, for our whole lives, really. The more we read, right, the better we get at it, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
It's the term lifelong learner. Right. One thing I noticed on the back page here, you have National Schwa Day celebration.
You're going to ask me about that.
And, well, I read the whole packet at the back, and I said, I had to look it up, because I'd never heard of that before, and it is coming up on April 7th, so I was wondering how we're going to celebrate if the kids are going to indeed wear their pajamas to school and talk about banana,
Oh, yes, you're right. So, National Schwa Day is a national holiday that is recognized now by an author that we've had speak to some of our QPS teacher, Yvette Manns. So we have books surrounding that. Teachers get dressed up. They post words all around the school. They do a lot of fun activities just to recognize it, because it is sort of, under-recognized in the literacy world. So to make a big deal and put it out there makes it more accessible and understanding it.
One of the reasons I got into being on school committee was because of the massive literacy specialist cut we had many, many years ago. And so I love that you've gotten to this point now where this is a fabulous, fabulous plan, and love that I'm still learning about Schwa Day and had never heard of that before. So
Well,
I
we'll
think
invite
that's-
you to some of the celebrations.
So I also noticed you have a Parent Academy on here, why a variety of books is important. Do you have a date for that yet? Because I'd love to
Yes.
tell parents about that.
Yes, I believe it's May 5th. Oh, yeah, it's not, that's just a list on that at the end of the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's May 5th. It's a Tuesday evening. And that's with Victoria Mulkern and myself. We've worked with Victoria before. She's from the National Center on Improving Literacy. And she's a BU doctoral student in literacy. So we worked together on things. So this one was a little bit more timely, I think, for what we're doing with our texts and explaining to families, why diverse texts are important for many, many reasons. Different types of books, just like audio versus and raising multicultural kids and those kinds of texts, just kind of bringing it all together. So yeah, we thought that was a timely topic.
Yeah, that sounds like a great topic. Did you have a time and a location? So we
I mean,
can-
that's virtual.
Oh, it's virtual. Awesome.
It
That's
is,
perfect.
yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's at 5:00.
Great. Super. All right. And do you have anything from our student representatives? All set? Okay, great. And I have a motion to approve by Ms. Campbell, seconded by Mr. Bergoli. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have school nurse appointment. Superintendent Mulvey?
Thank you. Before you is the resume of Josephine Masterpovich. She is a candidate for your approval and consideration and approval for the nurse position at the Squantum Elementary School. If we could have a motion to approve in a second and then a roll call vote.
Okay, motion to approve by Ms. Cahill, seconded by Mr. Bergoli. All those in, I'm sorry, roll call vote?
Roll call, yep. Mr. Bergoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Cahill?
Yes.
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Hubley?
Yes.
Mr. Leon?
Yes.
Mrs. Perdios?
Yes.
Mayor Cook. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have Mrs. Cahill to refer to policy subcommittee.
Referral for the school committee policy book, section 9.4, in regards to the school day for updates to the policy.
So moved. Ms. Cahill, we have another referral to policy subcommittee.
School committee policy book, section 5.6, food service management, for updates to that policy.
So moved. Next, we have Ms. Cahill, referral to policy subcommittee.
School committee calendar for 2026 to 2027 for referral to for the policy committee.
Okay, so moved. And Ms. Cahill? Yes. I'm sorry, Mr. Leon?
Sorry, on the next one. I had a question on the next item.
Okay. Mrs. Cahill, policy subcommittee referral.
QPS school year calendar for 2026-27 to the policy subcommittee.
So moved to the policy subcommittee.
Ask a question. So regarding the school calendar, I wanted to request the committee or the subcommittee to consider denoting Lunar New Year with an H as a holiday. It does fall on a Saturday this year, but I think giving it the holiday designation would just be a strong acknowledgement of its importance to all the families that celebrate.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have memorandum of agreement between Quincy School Committee and SEIU Local 888 Quincy Paraprofessionals Union for Sick Bank. Can I have a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Bergoli, seconded by Mrs. Cahill, and we need a roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Hubley?
Yes,
Mr. Leon?
Yes.
Mrs. Perdios?
Yes.
And Mayor Cook. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have establishment of ad hoc subcommittee for district-wide facilities master plan.
Point of order.
And Mrs. Cahill?
I'd like to move this to a meeting when all the members are present.
Table.
Table it, yes.
Okay, we have a motion to table. Do we have a second? Mr. Bergoli is seconding. Okay, so moved. We'll move it to a meeting where we're going to have
All members
all
are
members
present.
present.
Yep.
Okay, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. We need a roll call vote. I need to read it?
Motion in a second.
Motion to the consent agenda? Motion by Ms. Cahill, second by Mr. Bergoli. Roll call vote?
Mr. Begoli? Yes. Mrs. Cahill?
Yes.
Ms. Campbell? Yes. Mrs. Hubley?
Yes.
Mr. Leon? Yes. Mrs. Perdios? Yes. And Mayor Coe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is additional business. Seeing none, move on to communications. All meetings are held in the Coddington Building in the school committee room. Upcoming school committee meeting at 6:30, February 11th, 2026, March 11th, and March 25th, 2026. Upcoming subcommittee meetings, February 4th, 2026, Teaching and Learning and Policy. February 11th will be the quarterly budget, finance, and audit, and starting at 6 o'clock. Next on the agenda is reports of subcommittees, and all right, we had the report of the December 10th Joint Facilities, Transportation, Security, Teaching and Learning Subcommittee, and a joint meeting of the Facility Security, Transportation, Teaching and Learning Subcommittees was held on December 10th, 6 PM in the Coddington Building. Mrs. Lebo introduced the item before the joint committee, reopening Amelia Della Chiesa Early Childhood Center for the new pre-kindergarten classrooms and kindergarten classrooms from the Lincoln Hancock School. Mrs. Lebo reviewed from the teaching and learning perspective. Mrs. Hubley spoke on the facilities perspective. The meeting minutes are online in full, and I do not see any corrections to these minutes for Mrs. Owens. So we will move that. So moved. Next on the agenda is the executive session. We have none because we already voted on the item that was going into negotiations. And next on the agenda is adjournment, and seeing that we have the end of our meeting, we will adjourn. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.